All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The conversation still continues on the Kiambaa by-elections. We're putting up the results down there, but there's more information coming through to our newsrooms now. We're getting information there that vote tallying has been halted in Kiambaa after Jubilee's Kariri Njama contested the results with one station left. UDA's Muguga and Kiambaa was leading by a slim margin. That is what we know right now as we're speaking. Vote tallying has been halted there after Jubilee's Kariri Njama contested the results with one station left. UDA's Muguga and Kiambaa was leading by a very slim margin. That's the reason. So the numbers you're seeing, they are numbers that were projected earlier on from the IBC website, but at this particular point, there seems to be a bit of a vote tallying that was halted for now with just one more station. The 154, 153 had already been reporting, but now it's been halted because of that slim margin contest there. There were 96,000 registered voters there. About 44% of them showed up. There's about 40,000 of them. So we will give you an update as soon as we get them. Our reporters are on the ground to give you the latest there. But Wabwire here on Twitter says, good morning, Trevor. For me, I think this is a litmus test for the 2022 general election. It's important that other candidates take note of the UDA and prepare for a very good battle when the time comes. UDA is taking the ground by force. That's according to Wabwire there. And Honorable Kuria, before we went for the break, Honorable Kiambaa was calling this utmost treachery and betrayal from the Deputy President and the President. Do you agree with that statement?
I do not agree. And again, it's good to give credit where it's due. The Deputy President and the UDA people saw a chance, they saw an opportunity, and they took advantage of it. So on whether that is legal, I think the legality question is clear. It is legal. On whether it was moral thing to do, then that's a completely different story altogether. But again, for someone who has political ambitions to be president, and you've probably seen that the president does not seem keen on making you his candidate or the party candidate, then it was only reasonable that the deputy president would have sought a different vehicle to run in the next election. So in my view, the legality question is that the UDA or whatever name it was called before they changed the name had a pre-signed agreement with Jubilee Party. It was a coalition. And that's why even the Jubilee Party has not been able to crack the whip on these people that have been campaigning for UDA candidates, or they have publicly been talking about UDA, because that was there legally in the agreement. So on whether that or not is the right thing to do, I think it's a question of moral. It's a question of moral question. Was that the right thing to do? Was it the smart thing to do? And you know, just look at the numbers there now that we got that update. And there's a very interesting figure I've realized, the rejected votes. And so it's important to note that the margin in which either of these two candidates will lead is almost equivalent to the number of rejected votes. And that means that the election is very close. And anybody who wins and should also be very worried, because whether it is Kariri Njama who wins or the UDA candidate, then within year to elections and whoever becomes the incumbent may not really have a lot that they can do because it's such a short duration of time. Then it's going to be a very interesting times to watch ahead. And again, 1 year to elections, and with a margin equal to the number of rejected number of votes, I think that is really 383, in fact, is the exact number of rejected votes. So if someone beats you by the same number as rejected votes at a around 50% voter turnout, then it is a very close election.
That's an interesting perspective that you bring, because it is indeed true that the margin is actually within the rejected votes, because the difference there is 357. That was after 152 polling stations had reported, and 150 out of 154. We know now that vote tallying has been halted there after the second last polling station also brought in the numbers. But you can see from that point, when John Njuguna from UDA was at 21,401 and Njama Wanaina Karanja from Jubilee was at 21,057. Take a look at the rejected votes. There were 393. The difference between those two is about 358 votes as at that point. But there was a bit of a difference, and now vote tallying has been halted. This is earlier on that was projected before the vote tallying was halted there. And Dr. Odhiambo, what do you make of this whole situation right now? Because there seems to be a belief that then the UDA is the party to watch. In fact, even here, Chesiangani Kennedy says, come next year early, there will be a scramble for UDA and a massive walkout from Jubilee.
Trevor, all those things are granted. I really don't have a big quarrel with them. As it is, if we are basing our argument on today's results, then somebody can conclude that UDA is the party to watch and there will be mass movement. And that's what I'm struggling to put across, that even though my colleague, Honorable Kuria, is saying that there is a moral question, and that is also a very fundamental question. Is it true that if we are in political leadership, we can only run for opportunities without asking the moral component of us as leaders? Don't we say, or don't people say, that we are mentors and even the younger generation are looking at us? So this question of morality in Kenya, to me, it is such a central question, because sometimes we do things just by euphoria, and there is nothing really that we are holding on to. And I think even in this session of yours, including you have really questioned, do Kenyans vote? Do Kenyans do politics because we believe in certain ideology that can shape our undertakings and our development agenda and our decisions, or we just vote because there is a euphoria? So, to me, even if all the MPs from this region went to UDA, I may want to say that it would just be still the same monkeys, maybe in a different form. So, I don't really want to belabor on this, because all those things you are highlighting, I'm sorry I'm not able to see those figures with you at the same time, but we have already said that even if there was whatever it is, look, when all these rejected votes are almost tallying with the difference in between these candidates, somebody is tempted to think in the political arena, someone can do games, even with those who are tallying or counting votes, or even the returning officers, to force a difference which did not even exist in the first place. And so I am appreciating these people for the spirit and that fighting spirit. I'm appreciating everybody for participating, for those who participated. But remember, we noted that this is about 44. So it is not even 50. You know, if you were to round off figures, you will not round off 44 to 50%. It will be 40%. And so there is a whole 60% of those votes out there whose minds we don't have, even as we talk here today. And that's why I'm saying the only logical thing to do for now is to praise or appreciate whoever has won. But if they go with that feeling that now we are mighty, we are going to win automatically in 2022, Trevor, I want to tell that person they would be very wrong. Why? Because even these other people who have not voted, should they wake up tomorrow or 2022 and vote for a different candidate who is neither Jubilee nor UDA, these people will actually take the lead. I don't know whether you people are seeing what I'm seeing. So for whichever way, both Jubilee and both and UDA may need to do a lot of work. And as colleague Kuria rightly puts it, this candidate is coming on when actually this session is winding up. So even doing things that are significant, even to convince people that they would be the best leader for Kiambaa after Paul Koinange and not the other person will be very hard. Because if I was this Jubilee person, I would not go to sleep. I would actually launch a campaign right now and move on with it to 2022. And this person might be shocked. So I really appreciate this discussion, Trevor, but qualifying it as the litmus test in 2022 election, that would be very wrong. Because look, the greater percentage, even these spoiled votes, the rejected ones, if you add them to the number of voters that did not come up to vote and any other person who may register now, you will realize that both these two candidates can still be beaten up by somebody else. And I think it is important that even though we are politicians, it is important to wonder what are the actual factors that are determining our win or our losing. Is it the agenda of the day? Is it the euphoria that has come with UDA? Is it the money that people are giving us? Is it just because this we want to show, like Kimani was saying, that we want to punish so and so? Is it the ideology? All these questions must be answered. And in that context, I appreciate whoever has won, but I don't want to join whoever is feeling this is a litmus. Because again, tomorrow there will be a by-election somewhere. We had one in Bonchari, they said that was a litmus, and everything is a litmus. We have been talking about this litmus for so long. How many litmuses do we have? Anyway, my thinking is, let us appreciate this by-election.
Okay.
Personally, what I think I appreciate about it most is the peaceful component of it. And this is what I would like to see in Kenya, whether we have a major election or a by-election.
Okay.
But as for the litmus part of it, let those who think it is litmus say so. But me, from my analysis of the data, I feel I don't want to call it a litmus.
Okay. I see here Dismas Mokua says that Uhuru has created an environment for Ruto to grow UDA in Mount Kenya. Political parties in Kenya are personality driven. It was about Ruto, nothing to do with UDA. In any event, Ruto is Uhuru's candidate. This by-election confirms that the Jubilee, holding subsidiaries and associates, vote remains intact. All right? See, Mwangi Wakimani says people are voting UDA to punish the president. The economy is crippling and people are losing jobs, and still people on the ground don't support the handshake. Okay. And here say Pacho Queen Rose says, where are the 2 polling stations that can't be located? What is cooking? All right. Chesinganga Kennedy says, come next year early, there will be a scramble for UDA and a massive walkout from Jubilee. Kuria, do you agree with those statements there?
Some of them, yes. You know, again, it's a very difficult time being in government.
Yeah.
Because with the COVID season here, and there has been lockdown, there has been the economy struggling, then obviously the blame has been to the leadership. And I'm saying this is a difficult time to support the government or be in government, because we have a lot of things that are outside the control of the executive, happening. Nobody ever predicted that COVID would come. In fact, when we thought, most people downplayed it, including, for example, UDA people. That, and I remember when the announcement was made, there was supposed to be a big rally in Nakuru, and when it was cancelled because of COVID, then people alleged that it was for political reasons. So we are in a situation that we've never been there before. We're in a situation where we don't even know when we're going to get out of it. So it's a very difficult time being the president and being in the executive now. Yeah. And so to the common mwananchi, they may not understand the what this is. They attribute to the struggles they're going through to the government. And therefore, it would be fair for them to, and especially with the little voter education that's out there, yeah, about whether the functions of even the president, or the functions of governors, or the functions of different functions of government, then you would expect now the wrath of the people being directed on the people they perceive are the ones who are causing them these problems. And now, considering that the deputy president has fashioned himself and has been also been fashioned as being outside government, then he sort of becomes exonerated from now the frustrations that people have, not necessarily with the government, but with the current living conditions. And of course, the government being the government gets to take the hit. It doesn't necessarily mean that the president is not doing anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that the government is not doing anything. But these are difficult times across the world. So the anger of the people, who do they turn it to? They don't turn it to opposition. They turn it to the government. And that's why you see these people voting for different reasons. And again, let me also introduce a different perspective. Around 2000, before COVID, I think that was around 2018, the deputy president was actually hosted in Kiambaa constituency by Kareri Njama. And I think that's why I'm saying you cannot really call it a showdown, because if then it was, that was before the death of the late Honorable Paul Koinange, if it is Kareri Njama who hosted the deputy president then, so at what time did they fall out? Did they actually fall out? You know, there are all these dynamics to this by-election, and that's why, to me, it's very easy to call it. It's very difficult to call it a litmus test to the next election. Okay. But most importantly, is that there's a lot to learn. We saw very beautiful moments of where a UDA a truck or a UDA roadshow truck and a Jubilee roadshow truck would pass each other, and people would cheer on their teams, and there was no violence. No houses were burnt, no deaths have happened. And if you remember, the last time we had a political showdown at Githurai and at Kennel in Murang'a, we had people dying. So I think it's also a time that anybody that thought that there's going to be post-election violence in the next election is that now the voter is more educated. The security agents are more alert. The intelligence collection by government is way better. And so I'm also, it's a happy moment also to me, and it's really a big win to the country that there was this big political showdown in a constituency that speak almost the same language. You could call it a predominantly Kikuyu constituency. Yeah. And there was a almost 50% neck-to-neck competition. And there was no name calling. There was no people who died. There was no houses that were burnt. And I really look forward when it's going to be like that in the next election. Right. And again, let me talk about Parliament and the strength of Parliament in relation to this. Trevor, I imagine at 2022 that we'll have a Jubilee MP from, say, a central province, Mount Kenya place. We're going to have a UDA MP from the same place. We're going to have a PEP, that is Moses Kuria's political party MP from the place. We're going to have an ANC MP from the same place. We're going to have a candidate from I think Mwangi Kunjuri's party, it's called TPS, from the same place. Because this would mean that Parliament then will be more vibrant. There is no political leader who would claim that they have Parliament by their hands. And therefore, we would see better accountability and better oversight of political, of the executive. Because what I dare say this, Mr. Trevor, I dare say this, that in the current Parliament, the fact that these three individuals, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President William Ruto, and Raila Odinga, any of them can decide whether they were increasing tax on fuel or not, and it's going to be there. But if we had more people on Tip, on Chama Cha Mashinani, on Maendeleo Chap, and all these political parties, it means nobody can claim monopoly of Parliament. And therefore, there is no godfathers. Then someone doesn't need to be worried that they're going to be de-whipped. Because if you de-whip this particular member, then you don't even have the required numbers to lead that particular committee or to have that leadership at the floor of the House. So I'm really hoping that even what we saw now will be there in the next election. It's really unfortunate that the Honorable Moses Kuria withdrew his candidate from the by-election, but I really wish that there was that candidate there, so that at the end of the day, members of the public can scrutinize the leaders by the personality of the leadership. Because as we speak, our current political parties are personal property of particular individuals. You cannot be ANC if you're not in the good books with Musalia Mudavadi. Yeah. You cannot be a Wiper MP then if you don't have the blessings of Kalonzo Musyoka. You cannot now probably be in UDA without the blessings of the Deputy President. You cannot be in Jubilee without the blessings of the President. So what happens to your conscience? What happens to what you believe in, not necessarily what that particular individual believes in? But this political maturity that we're seeing now, if it proceeds in the next general election, then we are going to have a much, much better country. Okay.
Dr. Pamela, you know, Sean Sholei here on Twitter says, Ruto's hustler narrative seems to be rooting and giving a different conversation on how to approach 2022. UDA win in Mount Kenya is a plus for William Samoei Ruto. Kenya politics is rarely about ideologies, but a wave and who has the numbers. This conversation that Sean Sholei is talking about, the hustler narrative, is the same thing that your party has been accused of playing catch-up on after speaking about grassroots economic empowerment in the latest battleground for the ODM party leader. Are you playing catch-up, trying to counter the hustler narrative?
Trevor, the There is no playing catch-up. Let me state it clearly that the actual defender of grassroots person in this country, since as far as I can remember, is ODM party led by Raila Amolo Odinga. So this game of words that we keep changing, first allow me to appreciate my colleague on what he has said last. I said earlier that what I admire most, and I think what Kenyans should be glorifying most in the Kiambaa by-election is the peaceful nature. And that tells us a number of lessons to learn. For example, when we were campaigning in Wonchari, we were tear-gassed there. And you know, we had very small numbers of people. There was no big crowd pulled anywhere. But I was tear-gassed there in person. But then when we went to Georgia, there was no tear-gassing, there was no... Then today in Kiambaa, there is that peace and that cheering and each person passing, going their way and just wooing the voters peacefully. I think, to me, this is the best lesson we have learned. And it is simply that it is possible to just talk to the people, tell them what you are all about, and let them come up and vote. And if we can eliminate that violence, how peaceful and how this country would be a better place to live in. And then, what amazes me about all these things, like, let me go back a little to what Kimani was saying. Not Kimani. Yes, Kimani made the statement, but the others were insinuating it, that the deputy president is cutting out himself as being exonerated from the messes of this very government where we call him the deputy. And it is a pity on this. I want to say it is a pity on the part of Kenyans, because we fail to see things in black and white. The economy of Kenya has not even just collapsed because of this corona. It started collapsing way back, soon after Kibaki exited the office. And 2013, 2017, like these fuel prices, they started escalating then. Our hoteliers started crying then. There was no money for people to go and eat in the hotels or sleep there. And it has continued now. Corona has just nailed it. But when we are talking about the deputy, and then we are saying it's not part of that government, I think this is confusion, Kenyans, and we need to be realistic, and we stop being cheated to follow those euphoria and the opportunistic kind of approach to leadership. Because when you bring me to the issue of hustler narrative taking root, and you also call it that it is Kenya has a euphoria number, so it only means to me that we are not following ideology, because there is no ideology in this thing. So Raila and ODM and all of us, when we talk about grassroots empowerment and economy uplifting, we are only doing what we have always done. In fact, by extension, allow me to say that when Kenya, Raila was saying that let us devolve power, let us devolve resources to the grassroots, some of these people who are now talking were saying that Raila analeta gawanyiko Kenya. He was not up to any good. But today, if you look at all our counties, I want to give you the smallest city that the government of Kenya releases to Mashinani. This National Government Affirmative Action Fund, if you genuinely went to our counties and asked the citizens how this small fund has lifted them economically, you would be surprised. And that's why I'm saying, anybody who is saying that now it is the narrative of hustler, which I always call fraudster, because that is what it means, I don't know any other meaning of the word hustler, is the one that is now caring about the grassroots. I wonder what Kenyans are thinking about. And the youth of of today needs to stop again and think, what is it that we are following? When we are collecting this feeling of people wanting to blame, they are not being able to do anything on others. Is this what will bring really development in Kenya? No. What will bring development is being honest with the youth and tell them, our youth, even as you leave us the universities, the era when banks would go looking for Form 6 in school to come and be their accountants or come and be their clerks and cashiers is gone. All these offices are now full, And what we are doing now, the skill that with which you are left the university, please apply it and let's create jobs and be innovative. This is the language that we need to speak to our youth. But not saying that, oh, now you are hustlers, and now that they are hustlers, what does somebody really want to do with them? That has not been told to us. And I think bringing this mixture all the time into our conversations, Trevor, is not helping the youth of Kenya. I want to say that ODM is not playing a patch-up or a catch-up, whatever you call it. ODM is only doing what it knows how to do best. And it has always done it. And this is what has brought Kenya to where we are today, where even women who have never gone to school can be collected in groups. And through that very goodwill of the President Uhuru Kenyatta, I remember some of these funds that we are using to empower the people. Allegedly, way back in 2013, they were supposed to be for a rerun. President Kenyatta would have just said, take that money back to the treasury or spend it in any other way and let it get finished. But he said, let these funds be availed to the youth of this nation, to the women of this nation, in forms of groups and individuals. Let them access this money at almost no rate of return in terms of interest, and let each person participate in their own little way in growing the economy. I think this is something good, and we cannot just rubbish it. As Kuria has said, when we are saying the government of the day must take the hit, I don't see, I've failed completely to see how the deputy president, who is only second in command of that very government, can exonerate himself from the failures of this. In fact, just after he claimed to be no longer part, that is when we have seen President come out and even do things, and we are seeing infrastructure going on. During his time when he claimed to be there, he would go launching projects that do not exist. So when the youth of Kenya are being taken for a ride, it is high time we question the morality part of it. Why are we leading our youth astray? Why don't we show them how to fish instead of telling them things that will not help them and making them believe that they are poor and forever, and I don't know, some savior is going to come from somewhere? No. I keep saying in Kenya, and I will repeat, the power that raised Jesus from the dead was within him. The power that will raise our youth from poverty is their knowledge, skill, and competence. And that is what we need to encourage them to do, not hustling around. We don't want our youth to be thieves. Anytime everybody mentions this hustle thing, I feel so bad as a mother, because I've never given birth to thieves. I'm giving birth to children whom I believe all the Kenyan women want to be somebody, not thieves and fraudsters.
Okay. Honorable Kuria, before I take closing remarks as we wind up.
Daktari has introduced a very interesting concept, the hustler concept. Let me tell you the reality on the ground, that the government must address itself to, one, the long-term solution to the problem of unemployment. Because we have a lot of young people who are frustrated because they have completed school, they have completed universities, and they are unemployed. There must be a long-term strategy. But we must also ask ourselves, as we wait to grow the manufacturing sector, as we wait to grow that agricultural sector, because these are policy issues, these are long-term plans, how do we make sure that we safeguard these people in the short run? And I think someone trying to fight whether someone is doing it on the long run or on the short run is going to miss it out with the people. And I'm saying this as someone who spends a lot of my time in the constituency. They'll tell you, fine, you've made the road, fine, you've supplied electricity, but I don't have a job. So what I need is 10,000 shillings to start up a kibanda to be selling fruits as a wait for that graduate job. So if we change this hustler narrative and tell the young people, work hard, let's talk about the spirit of working hard. Let us address these things from a long-term perspective, but also remember the short-term solution to it. Because if you tell somebody that they're going to get a job by the end of the year, so what am I going to eat now, between now and then, and that at the end of the year? And anybody who misses that out is going to really lose it big time in the next election. And you've seen, for example, and one of the things I'm proud of what the president has done, the Kazi Mtaani, for example, program. I said, if a young person anywhere in the village, come. this is a job that will pay you whether it's 500 shillings. It's not a solution. It's not a long-term solution. But at least in the meantime, you are able to feed yourself and your family as you wait for that opening that you're going to get that breakthrough in life.
Yeah.
But calling these people thieves or fraudsters will get you wrong. And we must therefore embrace this, hustler narrative, but not in the view of not giving a wheelbarrow, not giving you a mkokoteni today, but how do we address it in both the long run and in the short run? And whoever,
Dr. Pamela, let him finish.
You had your chance.
Let him finish. I'll give you a chance.
You had your chance. On how you understand that concept is really not a grammatical concept. Is on the ground. How does the person understand? And no, just take you back. We had the comparison recently between dynasties and hustlers. Yeah. And see, I found that very controversial, and I found it wrong, for example. Because I would say, if my son wants to run for something, does well, is he doing well because he's the son of a member of parliament, or is he doing well because he has worked hard for it? And so I found that saying that because you come from a particular family, then you should not even, you should not be successful, anything like that. But if you're talking about you, a young person, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you sell vegetables, whether you are employed or not, but you must find a solution to it. But I have a problem. When you think that the only solution to these young people is a short-run solution, we must have a plan. What is the long-term plan for these young people to make sure that we keep them employed and to make sure that they have a sense of meaning in their lives? But as we wait for that, we must have a short-term solution.
Okay. Dr. Kiambaa, you wanted to interject?
Yes, I find Honorable talking very well, but he's contradicting a lot. Why? Because when he's saying that the government of the day or what is happening now is not helping the young people. And I've just said that in an attempt to make the young people realize their initiative, I am aware that the government has given certain funds to various sectors, like in the MP seat, there is a fund domiciled there, which MP is a patron, called the Uwezo Fund. And this Uwezo Fund is supposed to be available to young people. It's supposed to be available to anybody who has no job but has some skill. And this has been going on, not only now, but it has been there since 2013. And I am aware the government is not willing to take this fund away. And it is a revolving fund that has actually helped people to create the so-called jobs for themselves. So when he's saying we are waiting for the manufacturing, we are not waiting. We want these people to come up with their ideas and get this money and start their value addition, things that can put food on the table in that long term. And that's why I'm saying, when he's talking about the hustler narrative, even him and even me as Pamela, whose father's name is not even known in this country, now I am the MP of Migori County. I have children who have gone to school and they are well educated and equipped with a lot of knowledge and skills. Should these children get anywhere, somebody wants to block them just because I'm an MP. This is why I really abhor this hustler narrative. Because what it is doing to our children is making them believe that somebody there stole from them, somebody there. If you have worked through the ladder, like my colleague and myself, and now you are an MP, you are a leader of this magnitude, then your child becomes a dynasty. Those are the very wrong things he's citing about all these things. And in my thinking, I am only saying that the way that we are addressing our young people is to show them these little pockets of help that we have. Like me, let me tell you, Trevor, there is a group in this county that I gave some few or one or two greenhouses. And you should know that every time I come to Migori County, this group always bring me nyanyas and vegetables. And they are forever thankful because now they have what to do, they have money of their own, and it is this way that we want to take our children. Rather than telling them that we are waiting, we are not waiting. As leaders, let us tell our children, like when I was in the university, every time I went to class, I would tell the guys, I've come here to give you a job. Now, listen to the concepts we are discussing today. See how to make this thing practical. on the ground and start earning money from it. So I had university students, especially the IT group, they started doing their softwares and they started selling it right from there. So I'm only saying that as leaders, what ideology are we pushing for? And if we go this direction, Trevor, you will realize that those manufacturing farms will sprout. Why? Our young people will come up with innovative ideas and using these funds that the government has put in place to get somewhere. And we have had our universities incubating ideas. Last week, I think it is still ongoing, but for a number of days there has been something called Innovation Week at Meru University.
Yeah.
I know JKUAT has got an incubation industry for ideas that are generated by our young people. And even Nairobi University. Now, this is the kind of direction we need to take our youth. We can't tell them to sit and wait for some manufacturing. When the road is there, the water is there, the electricity is there, then let the youth wake up and use that road now to pick some vegetable that they have made in Migori County, go and sell in Keanja somewhere, and come back with money. I think all of us leaders, let us agree that our youth can be shaped to do things better than what our forefathers did and even what we have been able to do as parents of today and as leaders of today.
All right.
Otherwise, the hostile narrative is a killer of development, it is a killer of our innovation, and I won't support it. Let this group come up with something else, but not this malicious, intentional way of brainwashing our youth. I would rather not even be a member of parliament than call my own child a thief.
Okay, I have to take closing remarks from each of you very briefly because we've run out of time.
You know, Trevor, as leaders of this country, we owe the youth and the people the truth. And we need to package this information in a way that's not going to lead to chaos. And again, let me repeat what I have said earlier about the political maturity that you've seen. So how do we move forward, therefore, and explain to people when you have a technical and vocational training college in Molo constituency, who does that mean to the people? It means that those people are going to have skills. They're going to have plumbing skills, masonry skills, they are going to have tailoring skills, they're going to have salon skills. But then after they complete their course, how do we support them to make sure that they can earn a decent livelihood from it? And once we have this conversation, see, the government has done a lot to achieve that. Because the technical vocational college that there is in my constituency, I didn't build with my personal money. It's NGCDF funds that is given to us by the national government. So anybody that's trying to tell the people that the government has not done anything, if I'm a member of parliament for a particular constituency, and I'm telling my people, you know what, Uhuru's government has not done anything. And when I'm doing that, I'm launching a bursary fund for needy students in my constituency, then that is telling them a lie. Having said that, I insist that the real conversation towards transformation of our society is the true consideration of both the short, the long-term objective of where we want our country to go, of where we want our young people to go, of how we are going to address the issue of unemployment, but also in the short run, how do we make sure that these people are not committing suicide? How do we make sure that these people have food on the table? And once we address this from a policy point of view and from a short-term interventions point of view, and we are honest with the people and not necessarily just carrying the narrative for political capital out of it, then we are going to have a highly transformed and empowered society called Kenya.
All right, we have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for making time. Kimani Kuria, Member of Parliament for Molo, Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, Women Representative from Migori, joining us on phone. We know now that vote tallying has been halted in Kiambaa after Jubilee's Kariri Njama contested the results with one station left. UDA's Njuguna Wanjiku was leading by a very slim margin, about 344 votes. That was the difference. The turnout is about 44%. There were 96,000 registered voters. About 40,000 of them showed up. In fact, I want to bring up on your screen, show you just the last figures we had before the tallying was stopped there. It was around 152, but there was an increase by one more polling station before it was stopped. You can see the rejected votes there, 393, and it was 21,401 for Wanjiku John Njuguna from UDA, and 21,057 for Njama Wanaina Karanja Kariri from Jubilee, but that vote tallying has been halted for now. We'll give you the latest when we receive it from our people on the ground. But for now, we're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When you come back, it's Level Up Fridays, but still, the numbers will be there. Anything happens in Kiambaa, we will let you know. So no need to panic. We got you covered, all right? See you in a bit.